Hello everyone and welcome to Rock Your Block. I'm James Jack. I'm a real estate professional here in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm licensed in both Maryland and Virginia. And I've been doing this for quite some time. Real estate is in my blood. I love it. I like to see people buy homes, sell homes, rent homes, renovate them, or whatever the case may be. And so one of the reasons why we're here today is because one of my colleagues is a person who also shares this love for home buying and home selling and everything. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Miss Donna Hurley. She's the President and Executive Director of Housing Options and Planning Enterprises, Inc., short for H.O.P.E. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, tell me who you are, what you do, and let's really have some fun with this.
Okay. I'm the president, the founder, and the executive director of Housing Options and Planning Enterprises, which we call H.O.P.E, to abbreviate that long name. What H.O.P.E is a HUD-approved housing counseling agency that provides financial literacy, pre-purchase education, and home retention out here in our market space. I started H.O.P.E in 2005 because I saw the need for home retention, for people wanting to stay in their home. And just prior to the foreclosure crisis, there was just a need that people needed to understand more about their financial situation and what options they had in order to become sustainable homeowners. And so that is my forte. As you said, I've been in the real estate industry for over 25 years, a licensed realtor in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. Mm-hmm. And I just realized after sitting across the settlement table for so many transactions that people didn't understand the paperwork they were signing, that it was just a lack of knowledge. People want to become homeowners, but they didn't understand the process to really become a sustainable homeowner. So I started that process of educating individuals so they can cross over to becoming sustainable. And also the other piece of it is having this love for real estate and creating value and wealth in our community. I also saw that there was a lack of understanding or relationship between the real estate community and the housing counselors that can help to make that crossover, that bridge of awareness to create this sustainability.
So how successful have you been with bridging the gap?
It is a challenge. It's a challenge because realtors kind of keep, housing counselors, away from them. The advantage of a housing counselor would be to help to nurture a relationship, because in many cases, especially now that the process of home buying has become so difficult, that credit is a major challenge for many homeowners or potential homeowners. It is so critical that a housing counselor or someone provide one-on-one service to help a potential home buyer to become successful, to really understand their credit, to resolve credit issues prior to them doing application, helping them to create savings, which is another problem, because earlier on, back in 2000, 2005, people didn't have to have money. You could buy with zero down. Now it's changed. They need to see reserve. And so we need to create that reserve, or helping people to understand that they need to save, that they need to have a budget, they need to have some processes in place. So realtors, from my perspective, is that instead of them opening up the opportunity of working with counselors to do this one-on-one, to create this environment of, if the buyer isn't ready today, then let's work with them in order to get them mortgage ready, so that you're creating this, this flow of new opportunity.
So in a number of conversations that you and I have had, you talk about financial literacy. Can you explain that in a way that they will understand as well as now I understand?
Sure. Financial literacy, when we talk about financial literacy, or the new terminology is financial capability, and it's looking at creating this flow or this opportunity for people to really to understand their money, to be able to budget, to plan ahead, to build a success, a roadmap for their financial future. One of the things that I like to always say in my class is, how many of you would drive to California without a roadmap? And no one will, right? But when you ask how many people have a budget, a spending plan, most people don't. Most people do not write down and really understand what their real expenses are. And some of it has to do with people's mindset, their attitude, how they feel about money, how they grew up around money. Just a lot of behavior is really inward. And so sometimes we have to really look at how do we adjust, how do we change people's attitude about money so they can get to the point of changing and building some financial security as they're moving forward. It's not about spend, spend, spend. We have to get to a point of saving. And we see, it's not just, it's a national thing. Our government is having issues with savings and spending and, balancing the budget. So homeowners, home buyers, individuals are having that same crisis. How do we, balance our, household budget? Mm-hmm. How do we save?
You mentioned classes. In a moment, you're going to see a graphic on the screen about the classes and seminars that you conduct at your office and also in the field. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But I'm really stuck on this issue of literacy. When I was growing up, my father sat me down and taught me how to write a check. And then he told me what happens once we write the check, where it goes, and eventually the check comes back to us. So in a way, he was teaching me something that at that time didn't mean anything to me at all. Because to me, money was the dollars that you had in your wallet or that you had in your bank account. But a check is, as they say, fungible. It is money. It represents your ability to buy or your inability to buy based on how you manage your money. So as far as financial literacy and everything goes, when people come in, where do you start with them? How do you assess that they are at one point or at another point?
Well, we start first by looking at their credit. We have to understand their credit status, how much debt they're in, which is another big one. A lot of people don't even look at that total number. Some studies have shown that the average American is over $9,000 in credit card debt. That many people hold multiple credit cards. So we look at that. We look at actually what their current debt ceiling is, where they're at as far as their financial status. That means looking at their net income, what they're actually bringing home, and coming up with a budget and identifying some savings reserves, because in a lot of cases, people don't save. That old strategy or that concept of pay yourself first, many people don't, and they'll say, well, how am I going to pay myself first when I'm living paycheck to paycheck? And so it's a process of getting to that, taking baby steps in order to get to a point of being able to have savings, to reestablish credit, because we know that many individuals have gone off to college and without the same financial literacy that your dad taught you, how to balance a checkbook, how not to open up, accounts when you really can't afford to open certain, credit cards. But people have gone off to college and immediately just going, filling out, their initial application for school. They're given the opportunity to open up credit cards without having a job. The laws have changed to prevent that, but there's a lot of people who have gotten in a lot of trouble just because of that. And then the student loans and just a lot of other things that, fall into when you're not aware of, this whole concept about the debt and having to pay the bills, and and then our economy has definitely had a major impact on people's ability to maintain their credit and to save. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, it's very difficult to look at building reserves and savings, but the reality is that we need to do that. We have to get to a point that we have the reserve, the emergency money to deal with, crisis. you know, because life happens, things happen that if you're not prepared for, you know, you can really be set up for failure.
Well, I can tell you, I cannot even forget the number of times my father would say, "It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep." And of course, he came along during a time when credit was denied to him, not just the opportunity to buy, but the opportunity to buy on the installment plan. But by the time it did come along for him and it was available to him, he had already set in motion a lifestyle whereby as he knew exactly how much money he had all the time. He knew who he owed, who, you know, what he could buy and what he couldn't buy. So he lived within his means, and that meant that we lived within our means too. It's kind of ironic. I didn't really pay any attention to it in the beginning, but over a period of time, those lessons began to settle in, and you know, I began to walk in his shoes again. So now, you got.
Well, I just want to say your dad was a wise man.
Very, 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 very smart, even though I may have called him a lot of names back then. Ironically, number two son does the same thing to me. You know, he says, why? One day you'll learn. Now, we have so much to talk about, and I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of questions coming your way, but we have a few minutes that we can, you know, indulge ourselves in that. The first thing I want to do is let people know that if you want to reach Ms. Hurley and her office or her staff, you can either go on the web and read about the H.O.P.E organization, the projects that they have, the things that are available to you by going to www.hopefinancial.org. www.hopefinancial.org. You can email them at hope@hopefinancial.org. Or as you can do like most people do, pick up the phone and dial 301-567-3330. 301-567-3330. Now, based on what I'm hearing, we've got two different types of people who come into your office, who learn about you and they come in. So after we take a little break in a few seconds, I want you to tell me about a little bit more about the people who come in who are first-time home buyers or who may be buying again but don't know how to make that transition, and about those who are in trouble, foreclosure, as it were. And it's a nasty little situation that has not gone away, and it's still a situation that has to be rectified. And I know that your organization has done a lot to do just that, to help people. We'll be right back after this message.
About a year ago, Mark and I thought, air pollution, global warming. How can we make a difference? So Mark modified our car, some sort of homemade energy source.
The best part is the car emits only helium.
Genius.
But the EPA says the energy we use in our home can cause twice the greenhouse gases of a car. So now I look for products that are in the Energy Star. Simple.
The EPA invites you to go to EnergyStar.gov to discover what you can do to reduce air pollution.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm James Jack with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate, licensed here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and Virginia. We serve people who primarily want to buy homes or sell homes, rent, renovate, whatever the case may be. But we also deal with the personal side, and because of that, my special guest, Ms. Donna Hurley, is here to give you and everyone that you know who really needs to know these things information that is very, very important. Now, Ms. Hurley is the President and Executive Director of Housing Options and Planning Enterprises and Incorporated, H.O.P.E for short, if you're into acronyms. And we've been talking about basically the two types of home buyers or people who have homes that, that need your assistance. So let's go back to the home buyer very quickly. You get them in, they need to get a loan. The first thing you do is you look at the credit. So now, where do we go from there?
From there, we offer what we call one-on-one counseling to help individuals that are not currently mortgage ready. We work with them to reestablish their credit, to create a spending plan, a budget, in order to start some savings to create that reserve. We have series of workshops, classes that will help them to really to walk through the process of creating a successful atmosphere that they can purchase a home. So that can be the one-on-one. They become a family member, more or less. We work with them until they're truly mortgage ready, and they can come back at any time for that assistance, that counseling. We also do what we call fast track, which is like an 8-hour where they can just come in, get the information in order to get a certificate for down payment and closing assistance. So that's one of the things. Those are the 2 classes that we offer. We do face-to-face, 8-hour certification. We also offer an online class for those individuals who like to, work at home, to sit at their computers in their pajamas or whatever.
High tech here.
The high tech, absolutely. So those individuals who do not want to come into an environment, a classroom setting, that they can do it online. So we have a couple of programs to help individuals. We also have a match program that assists individuals with down payment and closing assistance. So we have this match program that for every $100 that they deposit, they'll get an additional $25, which is better than if you put it in a bank, right? It's an
incentive to save.
It's an incentive to save, which is really important. So that's our home buyers. That's pretty much our focus. The programs that we have around the home buyers.
So this is for people of all ages.
Absolutely, of all ages. And it's really important that, even, young people, before they get in debt, that they start understanding the financial literacy and the idea of saving and, creating wealth, and, as early as you can.
Now, we've got the people who are buying the home. They're coming in. They find out about the down payment assistance programs. You tie it up in a nice little box with a bow and everything, like a little Christmas present. And so they're on their way out. For someone who knows someone who needs this assistance, then it's a good thing for them to plan way in advance. In other words, don't go out on Sunday looking at open houses and then expect that you're going to be able to sign a contract the next day. You may need more money, you may need more assistance, you may need more guidance, so you can help with people who are in that situation. Absolutely.
My attitude, and even though I'm still a licensed realtor, I truly believe that an individual should start working with a housing counselor before. In our classes, people who are under contract will say, I wish I took this class first, because the information, the wealth of information that they receive, not that we're expecting them to become the expert in the housing market, but at least they know what they don't know, so that they can to make sure that the people that they create on their team are working on their behalf, that they understand what their realtor should be doing. They understand why the lender is asking for the information, and then they know what to expect when they go to settlement. So we give them all of that information. So it's to their advantage to start with the housing counselor who has no meat in it. It's like we're not getting commission. So it doesn't matter to us. We can be very direct and honest and tell the client what they need to do in order to become mortgage ready.
Okay, now check them off. Let's move on to this other group. These people have been hurt. They're about to lose their homes, or in the case of some, there really isn't much time left. What do you do for someone who is near the foreclosure brink?
Absolutely. We do a lot of what we call foreclosure intervention, and that's working with someone who is challenged with making their mortgage payment. Either they are in a point of imminent default where they project that they're going to have a challenge, they're going to be difficult in making a mortgage payment, or those that are behind. And we have people who have come in that's 1 month behind to, believe it or not, a year or more behind. And what we do is our relationships with the servicers, we have direct access where we can electronically submit packages, where we don't have that issue where earlier on, and even today, clients are still saying that I emailed my package, or I mailed it, Federal Express, and the servicer said they lost the package. We don't have that problem because we're able to electronically submit the paperwork. So we're successful in getting modification workout forbearance because there's different options. Everyone is not going to get a making home affordable modification. There's different options that are available. So we try and identify based on, again, looking at the budget, looking at the data, and identifying what options are available and submitting the paperwork to the servicer.
Okay, so if you and I both tell people, based on the graphic that they're going to see on the screen, when it comes to foreclosures, there are a lot of people out there who will take advantage of you. They just seem to come out like vermin, and they take advantage of people. The scams, they're just too numerous for the FTC to catch up with. So they can trust you and your staff when they come in, and you want to let them know, don't listen to those people who are saying to them, give me $5,000 and I can make it go away.
Absolutely. It's illegal for any entity, anyone to charge a fee up front.
Would you say that again?
It's illegal to charge a fee up front. And there's many organizations or entities that will do that, even attorneys. Attorneys are protected in a sense because they're attorneys, but you do not have to pay for foreclosure intervention resource or services. A nonprofit housing counseling agency has more resources and more connection to the servicer than those attorneys, than those scam artists. And you're absolutely right, they come out of the woodwork. But we have access to pro bono attorneys or low bono attorneys that can provide a service.
Low bono.
Low bono, because if someone, it just depends. If the income, if you're at not at the low to medium income area, medium income, then you're going to have to pay for the fee for legal assistance. But the service is there; it can be provided. The state of Maryland provide mediation. Virginia, D.C. there's mediation, so it forces the servicer to sit down and speak with the individual. So there are options. And if people are being scammed, if people have paid money, then they need to report it. It should be reported because there's a way we need to identify those individuals that are taking advantage of homeowners. Okay,
so we only have a few minutes. Let's just revisit the fact that when they come to HOPE, there is hope.
There is
and
hope.
And that you can, first of all, assess what their needs are, and again, the options for them might be
if they're in trouble, modification, forbearance. Even if you're unemployed, there can be a forbearance opportunity for you. Military, there's a lot of opportunities for military. Deed in lieu, if you have to transition. But under the workout options, there's many different things that can be done. A refinance, there's many options that are available for the individual in order to help them to stay in their homes.
And that's something that people should not shy away from. People tend to go into a shell when they see that letter in the mail, when actually that's the time to be proactive because there is help and hope there. Before we wrap it up, once again, let me tell you that it's important that you get in touch with Ms. Donna Hurley and her staff at Housing Options and Planning Enterprises, Inc., H.O.P.E. That's the simplest way to remember it. They're there, and you would be surprised how many people are aware of them. Even people who you don't know are in trouble have probably come to your office, gotten help, but now you know. On the web, www.hopefinancial.org, www.hopefinancial.org, and you can also email them at hopefinancial.org. You have questions, comments, whatever the case may be, pass this information on to someone else who can use it. And if you're the type of person, like most of my friends, pick up the phone, call them, 301-567-3330. Find out when they're going to have their workshops, find out where they're going to be, go into the office, sit down and have a talk with them. Find out exactly where you stand. I am really glad that you came in today to talk about this. because even though we are in a housing crisis, we're still in it. You know, as long as your feet are still wet, you can still fall back in and drown. That's what we used to say in Louisiana. You're not out of the river yet. So once again, Ms. Hurley, I'm really glad that you came in, and I know that there is someone who will be watching this who will pass that information on to someone, or who will pick up the phone and call you, or send you an email, or go to your website, or show up at your office, and because you'll see where the office address is on the web, or when you call, they'll tell you exactly how to get in touch with them. And attack the problem. Don't run from it. It's like anything else. The sooner you become proactive about your credit, about or your status as a homeowner, the better you will be in the long run, because a lot of times the problem isn't as great as you think it is. Sometimes you have to admit it. Sometimes you're not as good as talking to your lender as you may think you are. Let someone speak for you, and then that way you'll have a better idea as to what's going on. If not now, later on, because you never know when it's going to be your time, if it's going to be your time. I always enjoy talking to you, and I hope the next time we talk about homes, home buying, credit, and things like that, you will be right here with Rock Your Block. I'm James Jack with Ernestine J. Wilson Real Estate. You can always reach me on the web at homesradio.com. And of course, if I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll find someone who can. You have a great one.